Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I think I'm going to do two videos tonight. This first one, not really about Islam, really about being a toxic person. So I'm actually not even wearing makeup today, so this is going to be quick because I hate camera without makeup. So anyway, being a toxic person. Let me start by saying I've been married a few times, and the first time to a drug addicted, alcoholic redneck. And in that relationship, I realized today, for the first time, it struck me I was still the toxic one. How, you say? Am I blaming myself? I'm victim blaming? No, I'm not blaming myself. Let me explain. Just because you find somebody and marry them or date them or give birth to somebody who is a toxic person does not make you not toxic. I dated my first husband, and it was like I dated him because he was there and he didn't leave, almost like I was just dragging him along for the ride. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I've had a few friends like this that did this to me, where I don't like you, I don't want to be your friend, but I don't want to not be your friend. And I hated the person. I have a friend from my middle school years. I hated her. I hated being around her, but for some reason she just dragged me along, and she was so toxic. And it struck me today that in my relationships I'm toxic, and this is because I guess this is my own self-realization. I'm not fully fleshed out on this yet. Of course, nobody can analyze themselves perfectly or anybody else perfectly. So I was thinking today that maybe sometimes you're in a toxic relationship and you're thinking, I'm the good one. I'm the good one. This person should treat me better. This person's not good enough for me. The second you think that the person you're with is not good enough for you, you become a toxic influence. Either they are or they aren't. If they aren't good enough for you, leave the relationship. Don't bring them down with you. Every one of my husbands has lost his mind. Every one. You know why? Not because they were or weren't mentally stable going in. My first husband was by no means mentally stable, but every time somebody leaves a relationship with me, somehow they end up losing their mind. And it's because I date people and marry people who sometimes I feel like I'm being nice being with them, or I'm above this relationship, but I love them anyways. Oh, they're abusive, but I'm such a good person. I'm staying with them for the children. I'm such a good person. I can love anybody. I can fix somebody. And so this goes on, and it doesn't sound so bad. Maybe you can love somebody. Maybe you can fix someone. Maybe you've been with people who are not mentally stable, like I said. But there comes a time, your kids grow up, you raise 3 children, and they become problems too. Not one of them, not 2 of them. All of my children have severe emotional difficulties, and I even had for a while, when they were late grade school, middle school age, I had them all with counselors, 3 different counselors, independent of each other, not knowing each other, came to the conclusion that my children needed counseling because their mother was an ADHD basket case. Now, this wasn't from talking to me. This wasn't from talking to each other. I know I'm the kind of person that people, what do you call the word? Pussyfoot, right? Pussyfoot around, right? Tiptoe lightly. We might make her mad. I don't know how, when I state an opinion, even if I think I'm stating it softly, somehow everybody's like, oh, Bobby, oh, careful. But I am. And sometimes it's good to be that person, But when you've gone your whole life and not realized that you're that person, you need to evaluate yourself. If everybody around you is toxic, you feel like everybody's always toxic around you. I'm just saying, maybe it's not them, it's you. Have you ever thought about that? If all your relationships fail, maybe it's you. And we're talking about, like I said, not romantic relationships, we're talking about life relationships. If you have trouble making connections with your family and your children and your husbands and your, friends, maybe it's you. And I'm not saying this to put myself down. It just occurred to me today that maybe sometimes we need to open our eyes and say maybe it's me, because that's where you can fix yourself. That's where you can go, okay, what about me is toxic? What about me drives men to a mental hospital? What about me turns my relationships into craziness? And I don't want my relationship now to ever become that. And I love him with all my heart, and it would kill me to become that. So how can I not be that person? My children are suffering dearly. I have suicidal children. I have children struggling mentally, emotionally, financially, even though I always felt like I was doing the best for them. And, people around me, I did get the feeling sometimes that they all were in on some secret I wasn't. They all knew that I wasn't doing well. Like, they always gave off this vibe. They were just putting up with me as a parent. And I never understood, because I feel like I'm doing homework with my kids, I'm talking to my kids, I thought imparting good values on my kids, loving my kids with all my heart, although I worked all the time through most of their life, not all their life, but most of their life I worked and worked and worked so much that they did miss out on seeing their mother sometimes. And there wasn't an option. It wasn't like, oh, if I had been there. There wasn't an option. Single off and on, and even when I was married, I wasn't in the kind of relationship where I could have been a stay-at-home mom. So it was never that option, and I felt like I did everything I could. But if you hear my kids, they all talk about me. I shouldn't say that. My daughter talks about, all my daughter's friends think I'm amazing. She talks about me reverently, wonderfully, but she's still a mess. My sons, even when talking to me, there's veiled references that I screwed them up. And I don't know, and I don't understand how I screwed them up, and I get a lot of blame, and I think that's, a lot of parents get a lot of blame, and sometimes it's misplaced, sometimes it's not. But my point is, in life, if you want everything you touch to stop turning black, wilting, and dying, maybe you need to be the change in your life, not change where you live, not move across the world to China, not change your surroundings, change you inside, fix yourself. And if you are toxic, learn why and how you're toxic and fix it, and become somebody that other people are enriched by being around. They're helped by being around. I always thought I was that person, and I couldn't understand why my last husband, I thought I'm giving him opportunities for education, and he threw it in my face, and why am I trying to push this on him, and so on and so forth, and thought I was doing him a favor by helping him get to China before I left him, and this poor guy, he's left with the impression that I ruined his life, and here I am this whole time I'm with him for 10 years together, thinking I'm enriching his life, he's better off for knowing me, and maybe that's part of where being toxic starts. Maybe you shouldn't assume everybody is better off for being with you. So this is just my public service announcement. Like I said, if you think everyone around you is toxic and all your relationships fail, maybe it's you. Okay? You guys have a good day. I just wanted to give you something to think about.